What if I told you that crisis worth nearly $90 billion is quietly shaking Canada's farming industry, and most people have no idea it's happening? Across the country, farmers who once fed millions are now facing sky-high costs, shrinking profits, and a system many say is pushing them to the edge. Some agricultural reports warn that if these trends continue, thousands of farms could struggle to survive in the coming years. And when farms suffer, it doesn't just affect rural communities. It can ripple through food prices, exports, and the entire economy. But here's where things get even more alarming. While grocery prices keep climbing, many farmers say they're actually earning less than ever before. Rising fuel, fertilizer, equipment, and transportation costs are creating what some experts call a perfect economic storm for agriculture. So what exactly caused this massive $90 billion agricultural train wreck? And why are farmers across Canada sounding the alarm right now? In this video, we'll uncover the 10 shocking reasons behind the crisis and what it could mean for future food. Number 1. Skyrocketing fertilizer costs. One of the biggest shocks hitting Canadian farmers today is a dramatic rise in fertilizer prices. Fertilizer is not optional in modern agriculture. It's one of the most essential ingredients that helps crops grow stronger, faster, and produce higher yields. Without it, harvest can drop dramatically. But in recent years, fertilizer prices have skyrocketed to levels many farmers say they've never seen before. Global supply chain disruptions, geopolitical tensions, and rising energy prices have pushed fertilizer costs through the roof. Some agricultural reports show that in certain regions, fertilizer prices have increased by more than 70 to 80% within a short period of time. For large farms that depend on thousands of acres of crops, this increase can translate into millions of dollars in extra expenses almost overnight. Imagine planning your entire growing season months in advance, calculating every cost carefully, and then suddenly one of your most critical supplies nearly doubles in price. That's the reality many farmers are facing today. And when fertilizer becomes too expensive, farmers are forced to make difficult choices. Some reduce how much fertilizer they use, which can lead to smaller crop yields. Others delay planting or cut back on certain crops entirely to manage the rising costs. But the impact doesn't stop on the farm. Lower crop production can ripple across the entire food system, affecting grain supplies, livestock feed, and eventually grocery store prices. In other words, when fertilizer prices explode, the consequences don't just hurt farmers, they can affect the entire food chain. For many Canadian farmers, this surge in fertilizer costs has become one of the first dominoes in a much larger financial crisis, setting the stage for the economic pressure that continues to build across the agricultural industry. Before we move to the next reason, tell us in the comments, do you think farmers are getting enough support, or are they being left to handle this crisis alone? And if you appreciate the effort behind videos like this, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it helps us keep bringing you powerful stories like this. Number 2. Rising fuel prices crushing farm operations. Another major reason behind the growing crisis for Canadian farmers is the relentless rise in fuel prices. Modern agriculture depends heavily on fuel. From planting crops to harvesting them, nearly every step in the farming process relies on diesel-powered machinery. Tractors, combines, irrigation pumps, grain dryers, and transportation trucks all require large amounts of fuel just to keep farms running day after day. Over the past few years, fuel prices have increased significantly, and that increase has created serious financial pressure on farmers. Agricultural economists often point out that fuel can account for a large portion of a farm's operating expenses. When prices jump, farmers don't just feel a small pinch, they experience a major hit to their entire budget. Think about it this way. A single large tractor can burn dozens of gallons of diesel in just a few hours of work. During busy planting or harvesting seasons, machines can run for long days and sometimes even around the clock. Now imagine what happens when the cost of every gallon of diesel suddenly climbs much higher than expected. This means farmers must spend thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of extra dollars simply to keep their equipment moving. And unlike many other industries, farmers can't easily pass those costs directly to consumers. The price they receive for their crops is often determined by global markets, leaving them with little control over their income. As a result, many farmers are forced to cut costs wherever they can. Some delay upgrading equipment, while others reduce field operations or try to stretch fuel supplies longer than planned. But these adjustments often come with their own challenges, including reduced efficiency and lower productivity. In the end, rising fuel costs have become another heavy weight on the shoulders of Canadian farmers, pushing operating expenses higher while profit margins continue to shrink. Quick question for you. Do you think rising fuel prices are hurting farmers more than most industries? Share your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. And if you value the research and effort behind videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it helps us continue making content like this for you. Number 3. Government policies adding financial pressure. Another factor that many farmers say is making their situation even more difficult is the growing impact of government policies and regulations. While many of these policies are designed to address important issues like environmental protection and climate change, farmers argue that the financial burden of meeting these regulations is becoming increasingly heavy. One of the biggest concerns often mentioned by farmers is the rising cost of carbon-related policies and environmental compliance. Agriculture already operates on thin profit margins, and when additional costs are introduced, such as carbon pricing on fuel or stricter environmental standards, it can significantly increase the cost of running a farm. For example, farmers rely heavily on fuel for tractors, harvesters, irrigation systems, and grain drying equipment. When carbon-related costs are added to fuel, farmers may find themselves paying substantially more just to perform the same daily tasks they have always done. Over time, these additional expenses can accumulate into tens of thousands of dollars each year for larger farming operations. Many farmers support environmental protection and understand the need for sustainable farming practices. In fact, agriculture has already adopted many improvements such as precision farming, soil conservation, and advanced irrigation techniques. However, farmers often say that new regulations are sometimes introduced without fully considering the financial realities of farming. The result is that farmers feel caught in a difficult position. On one hand, they want to follow regulations and contribute to environmental solutions. On the other hand, they must also keep their farm financially sustainable so they can continue producing food. As these policies continue to evolve, the challenge will be finding a balance that allows farmers to protect the environment while also protecting their livelihoods. Without that balance, the economic pressure on Canadian agriculture could continue to grow. We're curious to hear your perspective. Should governments provide more support to farmers facing these rising costs? Drop your thoughts in the comments because your voice matters in discussions like this. And if you appreciate the time and research that goes into videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. It takes just one click, but it helps us keep bringing you meaningful content. Number 4. Global competition undercutting Canadian farmers. Another powerful force quietly reshaping Canada's agricultural landscape is intense global competition. Farming is no longer just a local or national business. Today, Canadian farmers are competing with producers from all over the world, many of whom operate under very different economic conditions. Countries with lower labor costs, cheaper land, and fewer regulations are often able to produce crops at significantly lower prices. When those crops enter the global market, they can undercut Canadian products, making it harder for Canadian farmers to compete internationally. For example, grains like wheat, canola, and corn are traded globally. Buyers usually look for the best price available, regardless of where the crop is produced. This means Canadian farmers, who often face higher fuel costs, stricter regulations, and expensive equipment, must compete with producers whose operating costs are much lower. Imagine running a business where your production costs keep rising, but the price you can sell your product for is controlled by the global market. That's exactly the challenge many Canadian farmers face. Even if they produce high-quality crops, they may still struggle to earn a strong profit because international prices are driven by massive supply from multiple countries. The situation becomes even more challenging during years when global harvests are strong. When countries around the world produce large crop volumes, the extra supply can push prices down even further. As a result, Canadian farmers may find themselves working just as hard, sometimes even harder, while earning less for the same harvest. Over time, this pressure from global competition can slowly erode farm profitability. And for smaller family farms especially, competing in such a massive international marketplace can feel like fighting an uphill battle every season. Let's talk about it in the comments. Do you think local farmers should get more protection from global competition, or should markets stay completely open? We genuinely love to hear your opinion. And if you respect the effort behind videos like this, take 1 second to subscribe to the channel. That single click helps us continue producing in-depth content like this for you. Number 5. Supply chain disruptions creating export bottlenecks. Another major issue contributing to the growing crisis for Canadian farmers is supply chain disruption. Canada is one of the world's largest agricultural exporters, which means a huge portion of its crops must travel thousands of kilometers before reaching international buyers. Grain grown in the prairies often depends on an intricate system of railways, storage facilities, and ports to reach global markets. When that system works smoothly, crops move efficiently from farms to buyers around the world. But when even one part of the chain slows down, the entire system can quickly become clogged and inefficient. Over the past few years, farmers have experienced increasing delays in rail transportation and shipping logistics. Grain shipments sometimes sit in storage longer than expected because trains aren't available, ports are congested, or shipping schedules are disrupted. These delays may not seem dramatic at first glance, but for farmers, timing is everything. Agricultural products are highly dependent on seasonal cycles. Farmers harvest crops during specific windows, and those crops must be transported and sold within certain time frames. When transportation delays occur, grain piles up in silos, waiting for rail cars or trucks that may take weeks to arrive. During that time, farmers are often forced to store crops longer, which adds extra costs for storage, handling, and maintenance. In some cases, delayed shipment can even reduce the quality of certain crops, potentially lowering their market value. Meanwhile, international buyers still expect reliable delivery schedules. If Canada cannot consistently deliver crops on time, buyers may start looking for other suppliers in countries with faster or more reliable export systems. For Canadian farmers, this creates a frustrating reality. Even when they produce strong harvests, supply chain problems can prevent them from getting their crops to market efficiently, ultimately cutting into their profits. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think supply chain problems are becoming one of the biggest hidden threats to global food production? Share your thoughts in the comments. We truly read them all. And if you appreciate the effort behind breaking down complex topics like this, please subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it helps us keep creating these deep dive videos. Number 6. Climate change and extreme weather. Another growing challenge that Canadian farmers cannot ignore is the increasing impact of extreme weather and climate instability. Farming has always depended on nature, but in recent years, many farmers say weather patterns have become far more unpredictable than before. In some regions of Canada, farmers are experiencing longer drought periods, where rainfall becomes scarce during critical growing stages. Crops like wheat, canola, and barley rely on the right balance of sunlight and moisture. When drought strikes at the wrong time, entire harvests can suffer. Even a few weeks without adequate rain can dramatically reduce crop yields. On the other hand, some regions face the opposite problem: heavy rainfall and flooding. Too much rain can waterlog fields, damage crops, and delay planting or harvesting schedules. When fields remain too wet for farm machinery to operate, farmers may lose valuable time during already short growing seasons. Another issue is the rising frequency of sudden weather events, such as heat waves, early frosts, or powerful storms. These events can catch farmers off guard and destroy crops that were otherwise healthy just days before. For farmers who invest months of work and significant financial resources into each season, a single extreme weather event can mean millions of dollars in lost production. Agricultural researchers have been studying these changing patterns and warning that weather variability is becoming one of the most unpredictable risks in modern farming. Farmers are now forced to adapt by experimenting with different crop varieties, improved irrigation systems, and advanced soil management techniques. However, adapting to climate challenges often requires additional investments, which adds even more financial pressure to an industry already facing rising costs. For many Canadian farmers, extreme weather has become yet another unpredictable obstacle standing between them and a successful harvest. Let's hear your thoughts. Do you believe extreme weather is becoming the biggest threat to global farming today? Share your opinion in the comments. Your perspective really matters. And if you appreciate the research and effort that goes into videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it helps us keep bringing you powerful stories like this. Number 7. Labor shortages across the agriculture sector. Another serious challenge quietly affecting Canadian farmers is the growing labor shortage in the agriculture industry. While many people imagine farming as mostly machines and tractors, the reality is that agriculture still depends heavily on skilled human workers for planting, maintaining, harvesting, processing, and transporting crops. Over the past several years, many farms across Canada have struggled to find enough workers to keep operations running smoothly. Rural populations in some areas are shrinking, and fewer young people are choosing agriculture as a long-term career. At the same time, farms are expanding in size and scale, which means they actually need more workers than ever before. Seasonal labor is especially important during critical times like planting and harvest seasons. These are periods when farms must move quickly to plant crops or collect them before weather conditions change. If enough workers aren't available, farmers can lose valuable time. And in agriculture, even small delays can translate into major financial losses. Many Canadian farms rely on temporary or seasonal workers, including international agricultural workers who travel to Canada for harvest periods. However, changes in immigration processes, administrative delays, and labor shortages globally have made it harder for farms to secure the workforce they depend on. When farms don't have enough workers, crops may remain in fields longer than they should. In some cases, fruits and vegetables can even go unharvested, leading to wasted food and lost income. For farmers who have already invested heavily in seeds, fertilizer, fuel, and equipment, losing crops due to labor shortages can be incredibly frustrating. As agriculture becomes more technologically advanced, farms also need workers with specialized skills to operate modern equipment and precision farming tools. Without enough trained workers, many farms struggle to maintain the efficiency and productivity required to stay competitive. Now we want your opinion. Do you think younger generations should be encouraged to enter farming and agriculture careers? Tell us what you think in the comments. We truly read every response. And if you enjoy content like this and want to support the effort behind it, please subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it helps us continue creating videos like this. Number 8. Rising equipment costs. Modern farming is no longer just about seeds, soil, and hard work. Today, agriculture relies heavily on advanced machinery and technology to plant, monitor, and harvest crops efficiently. However, one of the growing financial pressures facing Canadian farmers is the rapid rise in the cost of farm equipment. Over the past decade, the price of essential farming machinery has increased dramatically. Large equipment such as tractors, combines, seeders, and sprayers now cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. In some cases, a single modern combine harvester can cost well over $500,000. These machines are not luxury purchases. They are absolutely essential for large-scale farming. Canada has vast farmland, and farmers depend on powerful machinery to manage thousands of acres within tight seasonal windows. Without efficient equipment, it would be nearly impossible to plant or harvest crops on time. However, rising equipment prices make it much harder for farmers, especially small and family-owned farms, to keep up with the latest technology. Many farmers are forced to continue using older machinery for longer periods, which can lead to higher maintenance costs and reduced efficiency. Another challenge is that modern equipment is becoming increasingly technology-driven. Many machines now include GPS guidance systems, precision planting technology, and digital monitoring tools designed to improve productivity. While these innovations can help farmers increase efficiency, they also make equipment far more expensive to purchase and repair. Financing these machines often requires large loans, adding even more financial pressure and long-term debt to farming operations. If crop prices drop or harvests are affected by weather, paying off those loans can quickly become difficult. For Canadian farmers already dealing with rising fuel prices, fertilizer costs, and global competition, the surge in equipment prices has become yet another financial hurdle standing in the way of sustainable farming. Let's hear from you. Should governments offer more financial support to help farmers afford modern equipment? Share your thoughts in the comments. We truly value your input. And if you appreciate the time and effort behind research-driven videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it helps us continue bringing you important stories. Number 9. Record-high debt levels among farmers. Another major reason behind the growing pressure on Canadian agriculture is the rapid rise in farm debt. Farming has always required significant investment, But in recent years, the amount of money farmers need just to operate their farms has increased dramatically. From land purchases to machinery, fertilizers, fuel, and labor, nearly every part of the farming process now demands large upfront financial commitments. To manage these expenses, many farmers rely on loans and credit from banks or agricultural lenders. Borrowing money allows them to buy land, upgrade equipment, and prepare for each growing season. However, when costs continue rising while profits remain uncertain, debt can quickly become a serious burden. Recent agricultural financial reports show that farm debt levels in Canada have reached record highs. For many farmers, loans are no longer just temporary tools for growth. They have become long-term financial obligations that must be carefully managed year after year. The challenge becomes even more difficult when interest rates increase. Higher interest rates mean farmers must pay more money just to service their existing loans. Even a small increase in interest rates can translate into thousands of extra dollars in payments annually. Imagine running a business where you invest heavily every year, but cannot fully control how much income you will make. Crop prices fluctuate, weather can damage harvests, and global markets can shift unexpectedly. Yet the loan payments still remain the same, or sometimes even increase. For many farmers, this creates a constant balancing act between maintaining operations and managing financial risk. Some farmers continue borrowing simply to keep their farms running until the next harvest season. And because many farms have been passed down through generations, the pressure is not just financial. It's also deeply personal and emotional, tied to preserving family legacies built over decades. We'd really like to know your view. Do you think rising debt is becoming the biggest hidden crisis in farming today? Share your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. And if you appreciate the effort we put into researching videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it helps us keep producing content like this. Number 10. Declining profit margins despite rising food prices. One of the most surprising and frustrating realities for many Canadian farmers is this. Even though food prices are rising, farmers are often earning less. For consumers walking through grocery stores, it may seem like farmers must be making huge profits because prices for items like bread, vegetables, and cooking oil have steadily increased. But the truth is far more complicated. In the modern food system, farmers typically receive only a small portion of the final price consumers pay at the store. Between the farm and the grocery shelf, food passes through several stages, including processing, packaging, transportation, distribution, and retail. Each step adds additional costs and profits for different parts of the supply chain. As a result, even when grocery prices climb, farmers may see very little increase in their actual earnings. In fact, their expenses are often rising much faster than the prices they receive for their crops. Consider everything farmers must pay for before a single crop is sold. There are costs for seeds, fertilizers, fuel, machinery, land maintenance, labor, insurance, and loan repayments. Over the past several years, many of these costs have increased significantly. When production expenses rise faster than crop prices, profit margins begin to shrink. For some farmers, the margins are so tight that a single bad harvest or sudden market drop can turn an entire season into financial loss instead of profit. That means months of work, investment, and risk may result in little or no financial reward. This situation creates a troubling paradox. Consumers see higher food prices, but the farmers producing that food may still struggle to stay financially stable. And when farmers cannot earn sustainable profits, it raises an important question about the long-term future of food production. Now, we want to hear from you. Were you surprised to learn that farmers often earn so little compared to grocery prices? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice helps spark important conversations. And if you appreciate the effort we put into researching and creating videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it helps us keep bringing you powerful stories. When you look at the full picture, it becomes clear that the challenges facing Canadian farmers didn't appear overnight. Instead, they are the result of multiple pressures building up at the same time. From skyrocketing fertilizer prices and rising fuel costs to global competition, extreme weather, and record-high debt, farmers are being squeezed from nearly every direction. Each of these challenges alone would already be difficult to manage, but when they all happen together, they create what many experts describe as a perfect storm for the agriculture industry. Farmers are working harder than ever, investing huge amounts of money into each growing season, yet the financial rewards are becoming increasingly uncertain. And the reality is, this issue goes far beyond the farms themselves. Agriculture is a critical part of Canada's economy and global food supply. Canadian farmers help produce massive quantities of grain, canola, wheat, and other essential crops that feed millions of people both domestically and internationally. If the farming industry continues to face growing financial pressure, the consequences could ripple far beyond rural communities. Food production, food prices, and even global food security are all connected to the health and stability of the farming sector. When farmers struggle to stay profitable, fewer people may be willing or able to continue farming in the future. Over time, that could reshape the entire food system in ways that affect everyone. However, it's important to remember that farmers have always been incredibly resilient and adaptable. Throughout history, agriculture has overcome droughts, economic downturns, and technological changes. The question now is whether governments, industries, and communities can work together to support farmers as they face this new set of challenges. Because in the end, the future of farming isn't just about crops or profits. It's about ensuring a stable and sustainable food supply for generations to come.